Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am Jong-Soo Lee, Deputy Director of the Institute of Future Strategy. And it is my pleasure to officially commence the Trilateral Technology Dialogue on Strategic Cooperation on AI, Semiconductors, and Energy. I'd like to extend my deepest gratitude and warmest welcome to all those who have taken time to attend this event from Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. This event will feature an opening speech by Director Jungi Kim of the Institute for Future Strategy and congratulatory speeches by President Hong Lim Ryu of Seoul National University, Director Yeol of ICT Policy at the Ministry of Science and ICT, and President Chul Jung of the Korea Economic Research Institute. And this morning, we will have a session on semiconductors, followed by an afternoon session on AI. And tomorrow morning, there will be discussions on the topic of energy. Now, let's begin the event with the opening speech from Director Jungi Kim of the Institute for Future Strategy.
I'm happy to extend a warm welcome to all of you at this, what I think is very significant conference. Today we gathered to address critical issues that stand at the intersection of economic security, technological advancement, and national security, focusing on the pivotal roles played by Korea, Taiwan, and Japan in the global semiconductor supply chain. As you know, the semiconductor industry is becoming increasingly energy intensive, bringing energy security to the forefront in our pursuit of carbon neutrality. The intricate link between semiconductors and energy further underscores the importance of this dialogue, especially as we move towards a future where AI technology and platform will be central to our national hegemony. Korea, Taiwan, and Japan are not only leaders in semiconductor innovation, but also face shared challenges. The rapidly expanding industrial, technological, and economic influence of China adds another layer of complexity to our strategic landscape. It is imperative that we collaborate and formulate strategic responses to these common challenges. I hope that this conference will serve as a meaningful platform for us to exchange ideas, build partnerships, and develop strategies that will secure our shared future. Your participation is invaluable, and we look forward to the fruitful discussions ahead. Thank you. 감사합니다.
Next, we will have congratulatory speeches from our distinguished guests. The first speech will be given by President Hong Lim Ryu of Seoul National University.
Good morning, esteemed guests and participants in the Trilateral Technology Dialogue hosted by the Institute for Future Strategy. On behalf of Seoul National University, I would like to extend a warm greeting to all of you. It is a great pleasure to host this dialogue with experts from 3 countries, South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. As we witness now, we are in the age of great transformation. The so-called Fourth Industrial Revolution upends the existing social, economic, and geopolitical frameworks. Emerging technologies have become both an object and a driver for global cooperation and competition, restructuring the global landscape in unexpected ways. It became a new status quo that the United States and China are in conflict for economic and technological hegemony. And these geopolitical and geoeconomic tensions, often referred to as the new Cold War, are more unfavorable to us: South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. Historically, East Asian nations have achieved economic prosperity with the free trade system, particularly with the commencement of the World Trade Organization. However, protectionism led by economic and geopolitical conflicts threatens this progress. I think there is only one way to cope with this situation. Our three countries, sharing the common values of democracy and market economy, join forces and pledge to work together. This June, China surpassed the United States for the first time in the Nature Index rankings. The Nature Index is a leading measure of a country's scientific research capabilities. Until 2013, the United States produced top-tier papers 4 times more than China. In March 2022, President Joseph Biden proposed the establishment of the so-called Chip 4 alliance between the United States, South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan, with the aim of creating a more secure global semiconductor supply chain through the formation of a democracy-based multilateral grouping. For this alliance to succeed, maintaining the current technological edge through innovative research and development will be crucial. There is an old saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. This wisdom is still significant in the time of digital transformation. The challenges we face today are increasingly complex, making communication and collaboration essential strategies. Our future success will depend on how effectively we can expand our networks and foster collaboration. In March, the National Shanghai University hosted the international forum titled Semiconductor Supply Chain Restructuring and Economic Security. Scholars and policymakers from 3 countries gathered to discuss political potential cooperation in the semiconductor industry. I hope that such opportunities, including today's symposium, will become more frequent in the future. By leveraging our collective strengths, we can demonstrate the power and value of solidarity on the global stage and lead the world in science and technology. Thank you.
Next, we will hear congratulatory remarks from Director Yeol of the Ministry of Science and ICT.
네, 안녕하십니까. Good morning. I am Yeol Director General of the ICT Policy Bureau at Ministry of the Science and ICT. First of all, I extend my congratulations on holding up this beautiful technology dialogue, where experts from Korea, Japan, and Taiwan have gathered to discuss cooperation in the fields of the AI and semiconductors and energy. I really appreciate to the President Hong-Lim Yu and the Director Jung-Gi Kim and all of the involved parties for the preparing today's dialogue. Everyone, the wave of the generative AI, which began with the ChatGPT in late 2022, has spread across the economy and society in just 1 year, bringing the tremendous changes. The major countries recognize AI as a core strategic technologies, and continue to provide support to substantial investment. Especially AI semiconductors, which support massive AI computation, are key elements of AI comparative edge this year. Securing semiconductor technology and stabilizing the supply chain are very, very important from the both economy and the security perspectives. Furthermore, to create a substantial AI, the development and utilization of the eco-friendly, energy sources are also very, very important and necessary. At this juncture, facing this change of times, it is very timely and significant that experts from South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan, who occupied the crucial position in the global semiconductor chain or supply chain, have gathered here together to explore the cooperation measures. Everybody, in the midst of the urgent, the intense AI competition, it is very essential that no one is behind and all we prosper together. To achieve this, cooperation among nations that share the universal human values are also very crucial. Korea have proposed digital bills of rights to the international community last year as a foundational framework for a new digital order. It aimed at ensuring that the direction of the digital innovation aligns with universal human value. Additionally, in May this year, Korea hosted the AI Seoul Summit, proposing and adopting Seoul Declaration, which global leaders, which contains the value of the AI safety, innovation, and inclusivity. I believe that all of you present here today will resonate with the direction of the AI and digital innovation and Korea is pushing. On the foundation of the mutual empathy and trust, I hope that all of us here can be strong companions and strategic partners in creating the bright future for humanity together. Korea government will listen to the discussion held today and fully communicate with the expert to strive for the establishment of safe and reliable AI global governance in the future. I hope that today's dialogues will become a significant milestone in the cooperation amongst the Korea, Japan, and Taiwan, which strives toward prosperous digital future together. So once again, I extend my sincere gratitude to everyone who prepared and attended this dialogue. Thank you.
Lastly, President Chol Jung of the Korea Economic Research Institute will give the concluding congratulatory remarks.
네, 안녕하십니까. Good morning, distinguished guests and speakers. I'm Chol Chung. I'm Chief Research Officer of the Federation of Korean Industries, in which many major Korean companies are members. And also I run the Korea Economic Research Institute. It's a great pleasure to congratulate you all on the commencement of the Trilateral Technology Dialogue, featuring esteemed scholars from Korea, Taiwan, and Japan. I extend my sincere gratitude to President Hong-Lim Ryu of Seoul National University and Professor Jun-gi Kim, the director of the Institute for Future Strategy at the Seoul National University, for hosting and organizing this event. I'd also like to thank all the experts from Korea, Taiwan, and Japan who have taken time from their busy schedules to be here today. 20 years ago, we witnessed the dawn of the IT revolution, which integrated the internet, and IT technologies into all industries, profoundly transforming our lives. Now, we are on the brink of another groundbreaking wave of innovation, say artificial intelligence, AI. AI is poised to enhance productivity at both at home and work, fostering creativity across all sectors of society, including arts and culture. For instance, the advancement of AI will revolutionize transportation, making autonomous driving a reality and significantly enhancing our daily convenience. Furthermore, the rapid development of AI will dramatically shorten the timeline for new drug development, alleviating human suffering on a global scale. However, this rapid evolution in AI necessitates concurrent advancement in semiconductors and energy. AI's progress relies on semiconductors capable of swiftly processing vast amounts of data, and the burgeoning demand for electricity calls for the development and ample supply of various energy sources. This underscores the importance of our gathering today, as experts from each country come together to collaborate in the fields of semiconductors, AI, and energy. As we all know, Korea, Taiwan, Japan are pivotal players in the global semiconductor supply chain and hold promising positions in the AI avenue. And Korea holds the top position in memory semiconductors with the world's leading technology, while Taiwan stands as the global hub supplying AI semiconductors, dominating the foundry industry. Japan plays a crucial role in the advanced technology supply chain, leveraging its unparalleled expertise in semiconductor materials and equipment on a global scale. The semiconductor, AI, and energy industries demand a unique approach compared to other general industries. We should consider these sectors from the perspective of technological geopolitics, recognizing the deep interconnections between technology, economy, and security. In order to establish a stable supply chain in an unpredictable international landscape, close and strategic cooperation between Korea, Taiwan, and Japan is highly necessary. Furthermore, we must work together to address common challenges such as restructuring global supply chain in high-tech industries and managing power supply shortages driven by further semiconductor and AI development. Today's event is a significant milestone, bringing together top experts from Korea, Taiwan, and Japan to explore avenues for cooperation in critical industries. I hope this event will serve as a catalyst for strengthening our strategic, economic, and technological partnership. Triangles are often regarded as the most stable of shapes. Similarly, the triangular technological cooperation system formed by Korea, Taiwan, and Japan can establish the most resilient and stable supply chains. I trust that this trilateral conference will mark the beginning of the strongest and the most stable triangular cooperation system. Once again, I extend my heartfelt thanks to all the officials at the Institute of Future Strategy for making this event possible, and to all the participants for their valuable contributions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
On behalf of DSET, I'd like to express my gratitude to be invited to this very special event, the Korean, Taiwan, Japan Trilateral Technology Dialogue on Strategic Cooperation on Semiconductor, AI, and Energy. And I'm happy, also very happy to make a formal partnership with the very distinguished Research Institute for Future Strategy by signing MOU yesterday. And in March, we initiated a small trilateral discussions on semiconductor supply chain restructuring and economic security in Taiwan. And at that time, we didn't expect the next trilateral conversation will happen so soon. And I'm very inspired to see this trilateral conversation is continued and amplified by our Korean partners. And I wish that this meaningful dialogue will continue in the near future, and maybe that each country can take turns to host this special event. So the panel I moderate today as kind of continue our discussion last time. And I think in the last panel we hosted in Taiwan, is also about the semiconductor supply chain. And we have, three, that kind of rising stars presenters. And today they are, happen coincidentally in this panel as well. So I'm going to introduce our first presenter, Professor Xijun Kwan. Yeah, he is an assistant professor at a School of Chemical Engineering and Department of Semiconductor Convergence Engineering at Sun Kwun Kwan University. And he got his BS and MS in Seoul National University and a PhD in MIT of United States. And from 2019 to 2021, he was a principal research scientist in Advanced Materials Research Division at Korea Institute of Science and Technology. And his research interests include mathematical and computational modeling for multi-scale in smart chemical process and material design, and advanced material and process for next generation semiconductors. And let's welcome Professor Xijun Kwan to talk about the semiconductor supply chain.
Thank you for the introduction, and nice to meet you again, Dr. Yu too, and many friends from Japan and Taiwan. I am really delighted to meet again, and I hope we can continue this trilateral conversation and dialogue to make and to cope with uncertainties in near future around the semiconductor, AI, and energies. The main motivation underlying this trilateral dialogue containing these important technologies such as semiconductor, AI, and energy is that most of the technologies, advanced technologies, are combined together because as a semiconductor can serve the AI, and AI and semiconductor are dependent of the energies, etc. So we can find a way which can be shared together, and we can make a way to pursue the future technology innovations. So today I'm going to talk about what is the uncertainties and opportunities in the global semiconductor value chain. And first of all, as many of you know, the global semiconductor supply chain, or the industry organization, is a multinational system which depends on the semiconductor design, chip fabrication, equipment, and materials. Most of the semiconductor industry is led by the United States, China, Japan, Taiwan, Korea, and some countries in EU. But we can witness that this globalized semiconductor supply system is reorganized in terms of economic security. It means that we are at the core of the technology security-driven economic security, and at that very core, we can find out that the semiconductor plays a crucial role in this economic security. So to cope with these uncertainties in terms of the economic security, we can find out that most of the nations and the countries have some their own industry policies to foster their own semiconductor industry in their with their friends or their clusters. For example, you can find out that the U.S. will make some strong combination or some clustering with Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and even if not the other countries, we can find out that there will be Singapore or some EU countries, Canada, UK. It means that the U.S. will make their own way to make some reshoring or friend-shoring or chip alliance or whatever. It means that they will and they would like to reorganize and redefine their own semiconductor industry to foster their own the technological competitiveness. And in China, we can find out that China will make their own way to form their own semiconductor supply chain. It means that they can make some internalization or some nationalization of their own semiconductor industry. And in the near future, I predict that China will extend their boundaries to include some Russia or several Middle East countries or Central Asia countries and the global South countries. It means that they will form their own supply chain centering on the China. So by considering these scenarios, we can find out that there will be some possibility of the formation of a decoupled supply chain in global semiconductor industry. It means that there can be some technological innovation would be slowed down. And there will be some technological standards diverging. It means that there will be some uncertainties in near future semiconductor technologies. And there will be some global trade of semiconductor shrinkage. And finally, we can find out that there will be some possibility about the global collaboration for the next generation will also shrink. So to understand what's going on in this globalized semiconductor supply chain reorganization, we need to find out what is the real meaning of the rise of the China's semiconductor. As many of you know, China's semiconductor industry is mainly driven by the Chinese, the community, the parties, and the Chinese government. For example, you can find out that there is some period article, the big I-chip fund supported by Chinese government in the 2014, 2019, and recently in 2024. And they will internalize their own way to make some sub-10 nanometer processors, such as AP chips developed by Huawei in last year, and it is based on the 7 nanometer fabrication process, and it also depends on some multi-patterning technology, depends on the DUV lithography instead of the EUV lithography. But the thing is that as technological, the innovation driven by these Chinese IT companies using DUV lithography progresses, they will suffer some low yields and low efficiencies and low profitability in making these advanced chips in the near future, such as 5 nanometer, 4 nanometer, or 3 nanometer, the process is shown in this slide. And the other possibility about the rising of the Chinese semiconductor is the occupying the fraction of the legacy foundries operated by the Chinese companies such as SMIC in near future, such as in next 5 or 10 years. It means that in the legacy foundries such as over 10 nanometer process, China will share at least 50% of the global supply. And many of the Korean, Taiwanese, and the Japanese, IT companies relying on these legacy foundries will also strongly depends on these Chinese foundries in the next 5 or 10 years. And we need to also find out that it is semiconductor, AI, or other future technologies such as quantum computing, also led by Chinese institute or Chinese government in recent years, as reported by the SB, which is Australian think tank in last year. And you can find out that the semiconductor, AI, quantum, most of the emerging technology China has some crucial dominance in the emerging technologies too. And in the afternoon session, we will talk about what is going on in AI areas, but I need to make some comment on this importance of the AI, because AI is strongly related with the semiconductor too. For now, US risk of the global AI industry, ranging from the AI foundation model to AI-driven chips. But in near future, China will be the major competitor to the against the U.S. in terms of the AI development and the AI operation and AI-based business model. To control this China's rising in this advanced technology, U.S. has some strong industry policy, such as the Chips and Science Act in 2022, and they would like to form their own way and reorganize the global supply chain, centering on U.S. and their real allies, such as Japan, South Korea, and other European countries. And the U.S. also have some idea about the importance of this economic security factors of the semiconductor chips. As we witness the importance of the semiconductor as a civil or military dual-use strategic factor in the Russian-Ukraine war in the 2022. So, considering this importance and the crucial playing role of the semiconductor in the future, you can find out that there will be some strong strategy driven by the U.S. government, which will target the formation of some new type or new version of COCOM to control the advanced tech transition, transfer, and export to China and its friends in next 5 or 10 years. We don't know what will happen in next November or December in the U.S. presidential election, until we can find out that in the case of the re-election of the President Trump in the November, there will be stronger the policy of the U.S. against China, and it means that most of the nations relying on the semiconductor industry will be affected by the new industry policy of the U.S. in next year. And in terms of the alliance or some combination or partnership between the South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan, we need to find out that what is our own strengths is, except from the U.S. the leaderships. For example, you can find out that the most of the design and the core IP is just occupied by U.S., but we have some strengths in semiconductor chip fabrication, chip equipment, materials, and packaging technologies. By combining these subsectors in the global semiconductor industry means that we can pursue our own the combination of these strengths to cope with the possible uncertainties in next future. I will skip this. And this is one of the example of the Japanese semiconductor industry represented by the Rapidus Consortium and or Rapidus project. And they have a plan to produce a 2-nanometer the logic chip fabrication in the 2027. And this project is supported by the international partnership between the Japanese semiconductor firms and IBM. And they will pursue this next generation 2-nanometer semiconductor chips based on the next generation FAT architectures or configurations. And Japan is also pursuing some stronger partnership with U.S. industry policy, which is represented by the friend-shoring the strategy. Means that U.S. have a plan to alleviate the dependency on these advanced chip fabs in the South Korea and the Taiwan. It means that Japan can be an alternative for this advanced chip fabrication in terms of the U.S. reorganization of the semiconductor chip. Japan has also planned to rejuvenate their own semiconductor chip fabrication industry with a combination or with a partnership with the foreign companies such as TSMC, Micron, or Samsung Electronics in next few years. And this is one of the representative examples of the partnership between Taiwan and Japan, which is JASM fabs in the southern part of the Kyushu, such as Kumamoto Fab 1 or Fab 2. And I think that there can be Kumamoto Fab 3 or some Fab 3 can be located in the Hokkaido, and this Fab 2 or Fab 3 can be sub-10 nanometer foundry fabs. It means that Taiwan has some strategic the goal to make some strong collaboration to risk management or to redistribute their foundry fabs with Japan. And we need to also understand the importance and the uncertainties in the Taiwan semiconductor industry too. So Taiwan has some two major risks in the semiconductor fab. The first one is the earthquakes or some other kinds of the natural disasters such as earthquakes or some tsunamis, something like that. And we have witnessed some stronger earthquake in last the April in the eastern part of the Taiwan island. And the threat is the military threat or some military crisis between the mainland China and Taiwan. And we can find out that there will be some stronger crisis, given by the military, the training or some exercise given by the PLA Navy around the Taiwan island. And this will give some uncertainties for the next generation semiconductor industry in the Taiwan. And actually, these uncertainties or even some risk in the Taiwan's semiconductor also strongly affect the other countries' semiconductor industry and economy too. For example, you can find out that there's some strong impact on South Korea when there's some strong crisis in Taiwan, as well as Japan and America. So that's why we need to think about together what is going on and what is the uncertainties in front of all of us, such as this kind of the technology or political crises. To cope with these uncertainties, South Korean government has a plan to expand and to alleviate the dependencies of the technologies. And for example, we can show that there's some big projects such as a mega fab project in the southern part of the Gyeonggi province, as shown in this map. And we have a plan to expand our fab size about at least twice or 3 times by mid-2040s. And they will mainly the memory chip fabrication as well as logic chip fabrication, such as foundries. But the thing is that we don't have enough social infrastructure, such as electricity and water and some communication and the advanced or trained human resources, which is very important in the operation of these advanced fabs. And we have also uncertainties for the semiconductor fabs in mainland China. And we have about 5 or 6 fabs operated in the mainland China, such as Samsung's NAND flash fab or Hynix DRAM fab. But as many of you know, once the Samsung is supported by the U.S. government, the CHIPS and Science Act subsidies, it means that there is some strong restriction for the expansion or upgrade of the semiconductor chip fabrication. That is a major uncertainties for the fabs in the mainland China. So to cope with these uncertainties and the crisis, with the 3 countries can have some common ground or basis on which we can pursue our own East Asian version of the IMEC model. So we can make some benchmarking of this IMEC model of Belgium or some TSRI model of Taiwan, and by combining these open research and development platforms, we can harness our common technological innovation fruit, and we can reduce the overall cost of the next generation semiconductor technology development, such as some new materials, new processes, new equipment, and narrow down the possible the candidate for the next generation the semiconductor. And we can cope with the uncertainties given by the foreign policies. So it means that we can make some cooperation against the U.S. policy. And many of you know the U.S. policy is focusing on the next generation semiconductor the leadership, and which is represented by this netcast, such as the National Semiconductor Technology Center, and to make some partnership with NITC, each of the countries can have their own research fab or research institute, but rather than maybe we can make some commonly operated some kind of the partnership institute which make on collaboration with this netcast. And in the era of AI, we also need to cope with the uncertainties given by the high demand of these AI-driven chips for some kind of the energy demand for operating this AI data center or some kind of the advanced semiconductor fabs. Actually, most of the AI industry for now is driven by NVIDIA and NVIDIA's friends such as SK Hynix and TSMC. But there's some strong antithesis which is against this NVIDIA's collaboration, such as MS, the Google, Meta. They are actually combined with the UA-Link collaboration. So there will be some strong competition between two collaboration. And it means that we need to cope with this kind of the competition in oriented in the AI and the AI chips. And there's another the collaboration items for the all of us. For example, I would like to show you that there's some strong demand for these advanced memory chips, which is compatible with this AI industry, such as high bandwidth memory or processing memory, as shown in this slide. So most of the HBM is produced by SK Hynix for now, but SK Hynix strongly depends on their finalizing technology such as packaging, test, also base die, attachment, hybrid bonding, heterogeneous integration, something like that. Depends on the Taiwanese process such as TSMC's 3D Foundry or CoWoS packaging. And most of the packaging equipment materials and some kind of the advanced the component are just based on the Japanese companies. So that is one of the good example how we can and why we can make such a good technological progress in to cope with these AI-driven uncertainties with these three countries and some advanced companies. And to maximizing advantages of the three countries' technology in this semiconductor and beyond, maybe we can make some good collaboration model, not as well as a company-to-company collaboration, but the institute or university to company, whatever takes, we can make some this multilateral and multi-member collaboration platform to pursue this next generation technology. So, for example, I would like to suggest that there is some limitation in this, the FAO technology such as EUV lithography, which strongly depends on the advanced light sources, optical devices, and some control devices developed by ASML. But there's no some certain technological roadmap beyond this EUV lithography next to 2003 and 2030s. So it means that we only have 10 years or tops 20 years. So what will happen? Nobody knows. So that's why we can make we can try some solution to cope with these problems on these critical dimension reductions. What will happen after 0.79 numerical aperture UV? What is the alternative solution such as directed self-assembly or even lithography or even X-ray lithography? Nobody knows. So we need to explore together to reduce this cost and to find out or to narrow down the possible technological candidates. So there are so many challenges and uncertainties in front of us, and I believe that the Professor Huang and the Professor Young will talk about in detail this what is going on in next generation technology. So I will skip this, but there is so many possibilities and candidates, but most of us are under uncertainties. And I need to also mention that we need to also pursue this next generation information technologies represented by this quantum ICT. So nobody is sure that what is the real meaning of the quantum supremacy or advantages in next generation information technology. Finally, I will finalize the importance of the energy issues in semiconductor and AI, such as most of the AI technology and the semiconductor fab strongly rely on these energy supplies. And it means that we need to talk about that is how we can make this kind of the sustainable energy sources to support our semiconductor and the AI industry. That's why we need to talk about semiconductor, AI, and energy in this conference. And final item is that maybe we can talk about more about this as energy sources, such as non-carbon sources, such as nuclear or the other renewable energy sources. And we need to talk about that what is a possible way to make some collaboration using these renewable energies or nuclear energies. So that will conclude my presentation, and I will be happy to discuss in the afternoon session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, And I was reminded that I probably, took the old version of the presentation order. So supposedly you, Professor Guan, should be the last. But yeah, but I think, Professor Guan just gave a very, a great overview of, not only Korea, but also Taiwan and Japan, and also provide, some kind of East Asian version of the future semiconductor supply chain development and the direction, the challenges as well. So that will, get back to our order. The current order. The next presenter will be Jeremy Zhichen Chang. And Zhichen is a research fellow and semiconductor policy unit leader at the DSET. And he is also the legal researcher specializing in geopolitics and technology law and policy. And he has a very special background because he served as a think tanker at Japan's National Graduate Institute for Policy Studies and the Japan Science and Technology Agency, focusing on safeguarding national critical technologies. He addresses semiconductor supply chain security and the resilience in US, Japan, and Taiwan. And we are very lucky to have him to join this set last November. And let's welcome Jeremy.
Good morning, everybody. So every time I was assigned to make a presentation after Professor Kwon, I always feel very nervous because, Professor Kwon is not only an engineer, not only a scientist, but he's also a strategist for national strategy, for policy making, and so he's like a genius for me. I'm just a lawyer, so I should have not talked too much about the semiconductor in the industry or technologies because I'm not an expert. But well, I'm going to try my best, to balance our gap with each other and hope we can have more fruitful conversation after our presentation. So I'm Jeremy Chan. I'm currently the unit director for DSET Semi, the Semiconductor Policy Research Unit in DSET. This is our national think tank, just created last fall. And I went back to Taiwan after spending 15 years both in Japan and the United States. But again, actually, I just came back from Washington, D.C. After I spent a whole week there in Washington, D.C. We conducted a series of dialogue, both the closed-door dialogue and open-door dialogue with our U.S. counterparts from multi-federal agencies and from semiconductor industrial leaders and our stakeholders there in Washington, D.C. To talk more about the Chips and Science Act and talks more about the Chinese threat of their the legacy or the fundamental process and talk about lots of semiconductor related issues. So I might want to update to you about more about the result that I brought back from Washington, D.C. And because actually the session with me, with Akira and Professor Kwon, this is already the third time of this year. So we don't want to just repeat the same content, the same context of our discussion. So I might want to bring more about the result I brought back from Washington, D.C. It's the newest information, so I really want to have a more discussion with you guys. And eventually, I think, so this is the track 1.5, as Akira you mentioned, this is a track 1.5 diplomacy among Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. And last week when I was in D.C. the first day, so we witnessed that the U.S. and Japan and Korea had just launched a new initiative of economic security and supply chain security. So the framework among the three countries. And again, Taiwan was excluded. So there is anxiety that shared among our delegation there in DC. So it might be a very good chance for us to catch up for our counterparts here from Japan and in Korea. So yeah, let me get into the part of my presentation. All right, so I think previously both not only Professor Kwon but also President Yu and so President Chong and President sorry I cannot pronounce his name, but we've already addressed about the issue that we have been challenged for the past couple of years after the escalation of the U.S.-China tech competition. So really don't want to repeat it again, but actually the common issue, the common challenge that we have been facing for the past years actually the same, because we not only because we are here geographically in the East Asia, we have been served as a hub for semiconductor industry for the past 3 decades. But also, based on our position in terms of the semiconductor supply chain, we are overlapping each other partially, but we are collaborating each other for the other parts. So it's really close. We have a really close relations to each other. So, which means that we have to face the common challenges together somehow. So these are the common challenges that we have been facing. First of all, it's about the reshoring and oversubsidy. So I'm using the term oversubsidies among like-minded countries after the year of 2020 is after the pandemic. So everybody has just introduced the new series of industrial policy among like-minded countries. It's really rare if you compare to the trend of the last 3 decades, because few of the countries among like-minded countries were interested in introducing the subsidies to subsidize the semiconductor manufacturing supply chain. But after the year of 2019 to 20, so everybody was started to compete each other in terms of subsidizing the semiconductor industries. And on the other hand, China, of course, is maybe the biggest threat for all of us, because not only of China's overcapacity. Well, in terms of overcast capacity, actually, so we've been participated in a hearing in the U.S. Congress last week, which introduced by our good friends, Professor Chris Miller from Tufts University. So he introduced us to the Congress to participate in the hearing in terms of China's overcapacity, especially focusing on the fundamental process of semiconductor chips. We are expecting that the U.S. government is going to introduce a new series of policy measures to target the China's legacy chips. But we were told that we should not use the term legacy chip, but use the term fundamental chips, right? And also, well, China's critical technology theft is also a very huge problem for all of us. I think both Japan and South Korea has even suffered even more than Taiwan for the past decades when your national critical technology got unwillfully, unintentionally transferred from your country to China. So this is a common issue that we are facing together, and might be very good for us to have a kind of policy discussion about how to block blockchain. And the third part is again, so this is the U.S. expanding technology control toward the supply chain after the U.S.-China tech competition. Also, we all know that because Professor Kwon, you have also mentioned again before. The status quo is very fragile, so we cannot expect that the status quo can keep it for a long time, because every day when we were in DC last week, every day all the stakeholders from federal government, they have been talking about launching a new strategy and new policy measures targeting China. So in the near future, and even after the November, if Trump got elected, that might be a landslide, changing in terms of the U.S.'s not only the industrial policy but also the trading policy. That might be very effective for the whole supply chain. Very effective for all of our country's interests. So it might be. Again, deserve for us to have a conversation now, because November comes very soon. and we got to get very well prepared for this scenario. Well, so about in the end, so what is the common interest for us? The common interest among Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan, I mean, so if you look at the map, because we are geographically just near to each other, and during the past 3 decades, we were just the hub, we are just the center of the global supply chain in terms of semiconductor industry. What is the mutual interest? The mutual interest is that we have to keep this kind of a trend, that to keeping Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan still keeping as a center for the semiconductor industry. So the reshoring trend from the both from the U.S. or from European countries might be a potential threat for us, and we might want to thinking about, well, to collaborate together, not only from the manufacturing part, but also maybe from the R&D part. So I was inspired by Professor Kwang's suggest that, yeah, that might be a potential for both for Taiwan, Korea, and Japan to create kind of East Asian version of IMEC to jointly conduct R&D activities together. But again, so maybe I'm going to spend some couple of time. Oh, so free limits. Okay. Right. So. Okay, because I only got 3 minutes left behind, so this is well, because last time I remember that Akira suggested us, to bring more specific area together, to bring on the tables, right? Because it's very hard for us to physically gathering together to talking about the policy solution. So every time if we got a chance to gathering together, we might want to have a more specific area of the topic that we have to bring on the same table to discuss about that. So this is about, so I brought your homework back to Taiwan and discuss this with policymakers and leaders among the industries. And then it comes out that these three areas that might deserve us to bring together to the tables. The first is about the strategic cooperation, but it's already conducted among industries, among private sectors. Well, Professor Kwang also mentioned about the SK Hynix and TSMC. 2 months ago, they have an MOU, signed MOU together in terms of development of HBM4 and to compete with Samsung actually, yeah. And also, so private sector has already collaborated each other very, very, very frequently. So might not deserve for all the policy makers to intervene. On the other hand, the R&D and manufacturing research might be another potential, just like Professor Kwang's proposal of Asian version of IMEC. So I brought the idea back to Taiwan, but still, well, some of our policymakers were not very active about to have this kind of collaboration between Taiwan and Korea, because maybe again it's we are overlapping each other in terms of a logical IC. But Japan, most of the policymakers there in Taiwan were comparatively positive, and also there's already some kind of initiative or consortium launched for the past couple of months or years. And talent cultivation, I think it's a very potential future for us. And Japan and Taiwan already signed and created a series of MOUs among universities and research institutes. However, Taiwan and Korea still not yet see many new event updated. I mean, Taiwan is introducing a semiconductor academy nationally, but when I talk with policymakers who were in charge of a semiconductor academy, well, again, most of them were not very active about to bring the idea and to collaborate with our Korea compounders. But again, that might be a potential. If we don't target directly in terms of semiconductor manufacturing, but if we are collaborating in cultivating talents on basic science or science education, that might be very possible. I might want to bring these ideas to Professor Yan later. Also, my time's up. Yeah, so this is gonna do. All right. So yeah, I bring my slides too much. So yeah. I wrap up immediately, but maybe later if we have a discussion session, we might be able to talk more about the issue of Professor Chung you have mentioned. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeremy. I know, the time is always, short for extensive discussion, but we will have more discussion during the break. So that brings to the third presenter, Akira Ikata. He is the project lecturer at the University of Tokyo at the Research Center for Advanced Science and Technology. And he is also an adjunct senior fellow at Pacific Forum, a US-based think tank, senior fellow at Australian Strategic Policy Institute, and a non-executive director of the Interparliamentary Alliance on China. He advises the Japanese government bureaucracy and the private sector in various capacities. Welcome.
So once again, I teach at University of Tokyo. I also run the Economic Security Research Program at University of Tokyo at the moment. I do not have slides. I'm just going to talk, so please take lots of notes. So before I start my presentation, I want to begin with a big thanks. Thanks to the IFS for bringing me here. But even before that, earlier this year in January, there were the IFS members came to Tokyo, and we were lucky enough to host a symposium titled Japan ROK Economic Security Symposium, Semiconductors, AI, and Sustainable Technologies. And then DSET was kind enough to invite me to the Trilateral Symposium in Taipei this March, titled Semiconductor Supply Chain Restructuring and Economic Security International Forum. And now IFS is hosting this conference titled Trilateral Technology Dialogue, Strategic Cooperation on AI, Semiconductor, and Energy. So we've already had 3 of these iterations, and I completely agree with what Jeremy just talked about, which is that this importance of track 1.5 dialogue between Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. Because of the political sensitivities, I think it has been relatively hard to have these kind of dialogues, but because the environment is changing so much, I think we need to have this kind of a more formalized structure among the academia and think tanks, a track 1.5 dialogue to talk about the important issues related to economic security. So I really hope that we can formalize this trilateral cooperation because, once again, DSET and IFS just signed an MOU. I have been chatting with Professor Park about the potential of signing an MOU as well. I'm not sure if Professor Park is, there we go. So that was tie up loose ends between Japan and South Korea. And Jeremy and I have been talking about this. I mean, we've already met 4 times this year in different countries around the world, and we've been talking about this as well. So if we tie up this loose ends, then we can create this trilateral mechanism for a more regular coordination. And so we can come up with a catchy name for the next meeting to make it as if it's a serialized meeting. For example, this one is the TTD, right? Trilateral Technology Dialogue. So perhaps the next meeting we have in, let's say, somewhere in Japan could be the 4th TTD, since we've already done 3 of these, and then make it as if it's very official. I also want to note that Professor Chung has talked about the importance of not just a trilateral, but bringing in the US. Perhaps we also need to bring in the EU and other countries on certain issues as well. And I've actually been working on internationalizing the networks of the Economic Security Research Program by looking at partners in various countries in Europe, Australia, US, and so on. So this trilateral mechanism can be a core, and then depending on the topic, maybe we can bring in the US for some instance, or bring in some of the European countries like UK or France or Germany or Singapore or Australia for some others to create a lattice work of track 1.5, which is what's really happening at the track 1 level too, because we're seeing all of these new minilaterals popping up. So hopefully we can replicate that as well. Now coming into my presentation, yesterday, July 4th, I believe, was an important day around the world. Of course, it was the Independence Day in the US, but for them, I think it was an important day for both celebration and perhaps for serious contemplation following the big presidential debate that I'm sure many of us has watched with trepidation. It was an important day for UK as well, with the 14 years of the conservative rules ending. But July 4th was also an important date for those of us in this room working on semiconductor issues, because it was actually the 5th anniversary of the Japanese government decisions to engage in export control of 3 critical semiconductor materials to ROK. And looking back 5 years later, I believe that this led us to realize many important things. 1, just how mutually independent our semiconductor supply chains are. 2, what the consequences of government intervention in supply chains look like. And 3, 1 and 2 leads to the importance of coordination and cooperation among like-minded partners. So today I want to talk a little bit about Japanese government's policies towards semiconductor supply chains since then, and think about where we go from here. So there has been what can be called an economic security awakening in Japan since about 5 to 6 years ago. The government began to realize that they need to renew their focus on areas where economy and security overlaps. The government of Japan has engaged in various things, such as organizational changes, creating ministerial position of economic security, or creating an economic security division within the National Security Secretariat, which coordinates and strategizes Japan's security policies, or creating economic security divisions in all of the core ministries, including Ministry of Economy, Foreign Affairs, Defense, various intelligence agencies, and the list goes on. Japan has also passed a new legislation called ESPA, or the Economic Security Promotion Act, which allows for increased Japanese government intervention into the market on issues related to economic security. It has also strengthened various existing mechanisms for policy, like export control and investment screening, also engaged in, of course, supply chains on semiconductor issues. And then there has been various foreign policy initiatives, from the Japan-US Economic 2+2 to the new Japan-US ROK Trilateral that has already been mentioned by the 2 professors before me. The Fab 4, the Quad, IPEF. Once again, we have seen these various minilaterals popping up, and all of them have something to do with semiconductor supply chains. Now, I would argue that out of all of these developments, there are 4 most important developments in Japan regarding semiconductor and supply chains. First is subsidies from the Japanese government on industrial development. I'll just mention 2. One, of course, is the TSMC that's being built in Fukushima. There are, of course, increasing concerns of traffic congestions happening near TSMC factories, or potential environmental impact, what would happen to the electrical use and electrical cost in the future, and so on. But overall, this is being seen as a huge success. Economy is booming, more talent is moving toward the Kyushu region, so everyone seems to be relatively happy. And then there's the new Rapidus to the north, which is trying to create the next-gen semiconductors in Hokkaido. And of course, there are concerns here as well, such as the balance of government and private investment being a little bit imbalanced toward more government investment. And there's also been certain logistical problems, such as the limitations of bringing in certain materials through the Seikan tunnel. But so far, Japanese public seems to be optimistic in this regard as well. But an interesting point to note here is the contrast with ROK, where the Japanese governments are really investing into all of these semiconductors, but the South Korean government is doing this without direct subsidies and working with other policy tools. Second important development is the implementation of the Economic Security Promotion Act. This allows the Japanese government to, 1, identify what the strategic goods are and subsidizing supply chain diversification. And semiconductors are, of course, identified as strategic goods. And second, it also allows for R&D funding on important economic security issues, and once again, semiconductor is part of this. Again, interesting contrast with the ROK, where I believe the South Korean government has recently created a supply chain diversification scheme similar to that of Japan, but it's not a direct subsidies. My understanding is that it's more of a short-term loan, so perhaps this is something we can talk about later. I'm running short on time, so I'll just skip quickly. 3, talent development is important. You have the Japanese and Taiwanese universities signing MOUs, or Japanese and US working more among universities for R&D development and talent development. And the last is the coordination of export control and internal investment screening, with Japan joining US and Netherlands on smaller and medium enterprise, no, not that SME, sorry, semiconductor manufacturing equipment export control, as well as adding semiconductor-related materials on the list that requires higher scrutiny for foreign investment into Japan. So shifting gears, I now want to end by looking at the future. As President Hong Lim-ryu mentioned, we need to go far, so we need to go together. But in going far, I believe, what we need now is less of a new idea on the table and more on the implementation of all of the ideas that has been placed on the table so far. Also, perhaps a new aspect of this is we're seeing all of these new interesting ideas in different unilateral coordinated frameworks, but perhaps there are those where we can bring in other like-minded partners to make it from bilateral to trilateral, and trilateral to quadrilateral, and quadrilateral to minilateral. So what is this? One, I think we need to have common rules on government involvement. And Jeremy already mentioned this. Just last week, Japan, US, and ROK decided that perhaps we need to come up with a common rules on subsidies, on tax breaks, on public procurement regarding semiconductors, other instances of economic security products. And maybe we can bring in other partners like the EU and, of course, Taiwan into this, because this isn't a pure Japan, US, ROK trilateral mechanism. This should involve all other like-minded partners working on semiconductor issues. Second, I think we need to start talking about what to do with outbound investment screening mechanism. We're already seeing the Biden administration taking this route towards semiconductors, and Japan, Taiwan, ROK, we have to come up with an idea about what's acceptable and what not, so that perhaps we can create a common consensus and perhaps push back a little bit against the US to say, yes, we understand that perhaps minimal outbound investment screening mechanism is important, but don't go too far. Third, early warning system. Once again, this idea, I believe, came from the South Korean government first. Great idea in principle. Actual implementation might be a little bit difficult. And to do so, we need to have more coordination between the public sector and the private sector, because it's really the private sector that had sensitive information regarding these kind of supply chain disruptions. But the private sector had so much to gain by not sharing this information with others, because if you have this information, then you can either buy or sell beforehand, and you can make a lot of money off of it. So how to effectively implement this and increasing public-private coordination is going to be important. And last point, we have to, of course, increase resilience. I mean, now this is a catchy phrase, right? You look at all sorts of agreements and frameworks, and everyone talks about increasing resilience. But we really need to start implementing this. We are subsidizing supply chains on critical minerals. Of course, that's important. We have to reorient by increasing more friendshoring than just reshoring, because so far we've seen a lot of reshoring, not much friendshoring. And lastly, once again, talent development. But I believe that there are other issues that has been raised by, let's say, Professor Kwong and Professor Chang. But I believe we should be doing more of this to start implementing rather than coming up with new ideas. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I think we just heard, the first round of the discussion from, like 3 rising star, very outstanding researchers. And I think take away from the 3 discussions that we need more coordination cross sector, cross countries. And I think the 1.5 track, the conversation should be strengthened. So I just noticed that that you already met 3 times in the like the past 6 months, and 3 of you always in the same panel, and probably that we should sign not only the MOU with Japan but also with Korea but also with Japan. Yeah, okay, let's do that. Great. So that brings us to the second round of discussion on the topic of semiconductor technology, technical problems, next devices, next materials, and unknown problems. Okay, so this, like a very difficult topics were brought by, I think, 3 very experienced researchers. There's no break until 11. Sorry, if you need to go to a restaurant, please help yourself. Okay, so our first presenter in this round of discussion is Professor Zhensong Huang. And Professor Zhensong Huang is a distinguished professor at Seoul National University, serving since 2020. He has been a faculty member in the Department of Material Science and Engineering at SNU since 1998. And he is a member of the National Academy of Engineering of Korea and the Korea Academy of Science and Technology. And he is also the Fellow of Royal Society of Chemistry, serves on editorial boards of Physical Status Solidity and the Scientific Reports. And he is also the International Advisory Board member for Advanced Electronic Materials and the Director of Inter-University Semiconductor Research Center at SNU from 2014 to 2016. And let's welcome Professor Huang.
Okay, I think I have... okay, thank you very much. So this is what I got from 1987 when I get into the graduate school. This was the dawn of the personal computers. So I got this so-called AT computer, and it's got the this very low performance CPU with this sort of memory densities. But last week I got the new PC in my lab, in my office, and as you see, this transistor density in the CPU was increased by 8,000 times. But the more notable thing is that the memory density is increased more than 10, in this case, 30,000 times, and storage is 50,000 times. It means that the improvement in the computing power is really driven by the memory capacity increase, not the processor capacity increase. So this can be extended to a more global scale. So what you can see here is that, so when I was working in Samsung in late 90s, the global semiconductor market size was about $100 to $150 billion. But at that time, the memory share is about 10 to 15%. But nowadays, it's about 30% when the global semiconductor market size is increased $500 billion. Why is that? I could find two reasons from the evolution of the nature and the from the so I need the PowerPoint file from the economy. So when I'm sorry about this rather complicated graphs, but you just focus on these blue dots. So this is the kind of bug, and this is fly, bee, rat, or mouse, and human being. Now this x-axis shows number of neurons in the mammalian brains, and this is number of synapses in the same brains. Now you cannot directly compare the neuron to a CPU and the synapse to a memory, but it shares some common features. So if you compare the evolution or the increased number of neurons with the number of synapses, the number of synapses increases much faster. Why is that? I will talk about this later on. So we are following the development of nature in somehow in our computers. The Gompertz is a guy who lived in 18th century, and he was kind of socialist, and he tried to understand what is going on when something new comes into a social problem or the economical problem. Okay, good. Okay, much better. You see, I have a much beautiful. So he tried to understand what will be happening when something new comes into society or the economy. So he found that something, when it gets started, increases slowly, but it peaks the growth rate and then saturate. So this is still going on. The same equation is still going on. For example, if you take the cell phone number subscribers, see when it started very slow and then go rapidly and it already saturate. And then it quite well follows the Gompertz curve. Now if you do the same thing for the transistor numbers, annual production of transistor numbers all over the world, well, this is the projection following the Gompertz curve. We're here. So it's not just get started. It's less than 0.01% of what we will see in this saturation stage. So the future of the semiconductor field is still very bright. But what I can notify is that more than 99.9% of all the transistors in memory, especially in NAND flash. So the memory is really driving the semiconductor industry. Of course, the semiconductor industry or the memory density increase has been driven by the scaling law. But what you can find from the late in this period is that scaling has actually stopped. No more scaling because the further scaling requires too much time, too much money. So what we can see from the history is that okay, you just change the direction of the integration from the lateral to vertical. So what you can imagine is that if you live in, let's say, a very expensive city like Seoul or Taipei, you build up the high-rise apartment to incorporate more people there. So it's like a high-rise apartment. The same thing is happening in DRAM, but the cell stacking technology in the DRAM has not been developed yet. So people try to stack the chips. That's very, very poor method, but it's working. So that's how the AI type of processors has been supported by the high requirement of bandwidth or high density memory. But now, actually, this got the problem. This is the well-known NVIDIA's GPU system, too expensive. And it's actually it's got overpowered. I mean, everyone does not need this kind of things, this kind of expensive things. So there is another approach which is very recently launched called LPDDR plus NPU to replace this Google's kind of attack the Google's Emperor. Now, very notable thing is that 2 weeks ago, there was a VLSI symposium in Hawaii, and this 3D cell stack DRAM is really published. And we expect that this kind of 3D stacked DRAM technology will be available in market maybe in 6 or 7 years from now on. So it will really shake the semiconductor infrastructure. But now the problem comes in. If you stack the cells, you will end up with heating. So what you're doing from the memory chip or the processor is that you just change the electricity to the heat. Let me get back to this view graph. When I found this, so this is log plot, and when I found this slope is 1.5, I was really amazed. Why is this? So this is the most advanced mammalian brain, and the mammalian brains has their neurons. The neurons in the neocortex are distributed on the surface of your brain. Otherwise, if your neocortex reside inside your brain, when you, let's say, solve the mathematical problem or complex economical problem, you heat generate. And then this generate heat, they cook your brain. So you'll be dead. So to dissipate the heat, the neocortex should be placed on the surface of your brain, and then the heat can be readily dissipated from the surface of your brain. So when you really think about something very deeply, your brain really heats up. So when you measure your temperature of your brain, you feel the hot temperature in the surface. Now the synapse does not fires, so it just stores some information. So the synapse can be reside inside your brain. So this is like a volumized the add up of the number of synapses. So as the brain size or brain diameter increases, the number of neurons increase the size of the square of diameter, because the surface area. Now, if you think about the number of synapses increase as a function of diameter, you think that it's a cubic of diameter. So if you plot the log plot, you see this 1.5 of slope can be induced. So this really follows what the nature evolves. I mean, the memory increases faster than the processors, and all these processing units generate heat. So you need to find some way to dissipate the heat. So that's all energy-related issue. This issue, if you expand this issue to a global scale, we'll find something very weird stuff. Maybe in 20 years, we will end up with the consumption of this amount of energy by purely computing field. So when you operate all the computers in the world, you will consume this amount of energy. That actually corresponds to billions of, 100 billions of fire stations. So that doesn't make any sense. Actually, it's the same thing is happening. If you drive the car in the autonomous mode, you consume only half of the battery power for the computation, not the car driving. So in this sense, we have to think about the brain, how these things, I mean, this is a very famous scene. But what really amazed me was that how this guy can beat this computer one game. So they did 5 games, and Cedar Lee has won one game. Funny thing is that this guy consumes this amount of energy, but this guy consumes only this amount of energy. So how can this is possible? So we have to think about what is going on inside the AI system. And this is one of the representative AI algorithms, so-called as CNN, or neuromorphic computing. I will skip this. This is just extract the features as the human brain is doing. But the difference is that it does its own machine type algorithm. It's deviating from what the actual brain is doing. So it's a wrong way. So when you think about the CPU, how the CPU is working, it's very foolish. So when I make this view graphs, I check the computer, how the computer is working. CPU only 1% is working. The memory, sorry about Koreans here, but the memory about 40% is always working, and the disk doesn't work. So we should make something like this. Okay, this is kind of reconfigurable processing units. So nowadays the computer works like this, so the so-called von Neumann architecture, and this is the bottleneck. So in the near future, we want to merge these two, but in the long time scale, we may have to make something like a brain-like computer, but still, there is a scale issue. So currently, we have about 10 gigabit transistors in the most advanced CPUs. That roughly corresponds to 1 to 2 billion neurons. And 32 gigabit DRAM, that's roughly corresponds to 30 billion synapses. But in your brain, you have 100 billion neurons and 1,000 trillion synapses. So in terms of both absolute numbers and the ratio, the human-made computer is far inferior to the God-made computers. So it means that we still have to think about how to improve the computers in a different way. Can you identify who this guy is? Immanuel Kant. He pursued what is the mind, a consciousness, in the philosophical way. But this is, Professor Kim, you know him? rows of panels as a teacher of Stephen Hawking, and he received a Nobel Prize in particle physics in 2020. He did a lot of different things. This is one of the material science example where he explained how this quasi-crystal can be explained from the. Okay, let me skip this. And in late 1990s, he wrote this book, Shadows of Mind, and he tried to answer, can we download our brain to computer? And his answer was like this. The brain brain working is kind of physical phenomena, but you cannot download it because eventually the brain is governed by the quantum mechanical principles, so uncertainty principles. But our computer is the deterministic computer. So the deterministic computer cannot download the uncertainty principle controlled things. So it used to be that science or even psychology dominates the technology. But nowadays, it looks like that the semiconductor guys try to over-dominate the science by doing these kind of things. So this is a very recent Google's work. They actually imaged how this neuron communicate with other neurons through the synaptic connections using AI algorithm. That's a very long way to go. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Huang, for making a very interesting presentation with this very difficult topic, and talking about all the neural communication and the possible heating problems. I will introduce our second presenter, Professor Conran Yang, who is the senior advisor at DSET. And he graduated from National Taiwan University and earned his PhD from UC Berkeley. In the United States, he researched at MIT and worked at HP. And he held the role at the Chartered Semiconductor, Winbang Electronics, and Worldwide Semiconductor. And I think the important profile for him is that he worked at TSMC from 1998 to 2005 as a research and development lead for 0.18, 0.13, and 0.13 and 65 nanometer process, and recognized for leading TSMC 0.13 micron production. He was one of the 6 knights of TSMC R&D. And after retiring, he advised SMIC and Intel, and now teaches at National Taiwan University and Zhengzhou University, focusing on the leadership and talent development. And welcome.
Thank you. Very inspired by Professor Huang's presentation. That sort of changed my mind of semiconductor. I've been puzzled a lot. I think the semiconductor industry is an anti-democracy industry. You start to see only the super rich company kind of benefit for that. For the regular people, honestly speaking, we consume power, we damage the earth. So I personally don't really like the past trend of semiconductor, especially recently. So I think Professor Huang gave me inspiration and there's hope for the future. So I definitely 100% endorse whatever Professor Huang just presented. So wish we have a much closer collaboration in the future, especially from science part of it. I think one of my background is, even though I got my PhD at Berkeley, but I was trained as an industrial person, not a research type of person. My first job at MIT Lincoln Lab for almost 3 years, I didn't really fit into that very research oriented. So that's why after less than 3 years, I fly back to Palo Alto in HP. I was doing 0.18 micron to 0.35 micron because my Berkeley experience is too close to the industry. So even I don't think my research subject has any academic value for that. But I was trained as a good integration engineer. So that's why I went to the industry and feel very comfortable. When I went to TSMC, I start to revolutionize whatever TSMC was doing because at that time they are still a manufacturing company, doesn't really know how to do R&D. So I built the infrastructure for that. So I'm very engineering and very kind of production-oriented type of person. And just give you one simple sentence about TSMC R&D. It's like less than 1% R, 99.9% of development. Okay, we really didn't have much resource or some activity in the research part, at least the scientific part of it. But we are using our eye to witness whatever happening in the world. They are doing research. When the research get to the inflection point, TSMC using 99% of turbo engine to drive that activity to deliver the technology with high yield in production. And that's a unique strength of TSMC. Very different from any other company. I believe it's very different from Samsung, from Intel, from anybody who are much better in R, but less competence in development. Okay, so that's the initial statement. I'm just follow the topics I was given. Just quickly, I don't think my presentation has any meaningful things. But I'm going to show you some insight. But I think this one just from iMac in recent years. So you can see you start to build things just like Professor Huang said, from 2D to 3D. Building skyscraper in the future, I don't know. Maybe in the future, the complementary transistor will be multiple layer of a complementary transistor because we only have a limited space. We need to put more transistor in. So try to put more transistor in. People find all kind of engineering method to make it happen. But with a lot of sacrificial, we just need to control very well. So it's very engineering kind of activity for that. Okay, and this is what TSMC's R&D presented in recent VLSI technology. This is basically TSMC's belief, starting from FinFET, you build the narrow sheet and then the complementary FET, maybe in the future new material and carbon nanotube. This is all I consider is old thinking. Definitely is not revolutionize as what Professor Huang is trying to do. Okay, so just follow the trend for that. That's what TSMC very good at it. Until someone finds something, and TSMC will adapt the new technology to go for it. I want to go back to the Moore's Law's initial. Moore's Law original concept is every gate is getting cheaper and cheaper. The price for each gate is cheaper. But up to the 28 nanometer, things doesn't go very well. Okay, in FinFET, it's getting more and more expensive per gate. And that's why if we follow Moore's Law, iPhone 16 is supposed to be cheaper than 15. 15 should be cheaper than 14. But you don't see that anymore. The phone is getting a lot more expensive. I think really hinder the progress of how people changing the phone. It's getting ridiculously expensive. Okay, I really, every time I use the iPhone, I don't really like the cost of it. Anyway, so wrong trend for Moore's Law. And another problem to design a very advanced technology, say 3 nano, this is IBS, the old data up to the 5 nanometer, $500 million just doing the design. A company want to do any product in 5 nanometer, they need to spend $500 million initially without taping out yet. So you need a big volume to kind of amortize to each product, okay? And then 3 nanometer estimate is about 1.5 billion. So, and you can assume 2 nanometer whenever it's getting billion dollar more. So that's why only the super rich company can afford it. Less than 10 customer can afford the advanced technology. So the game is pretty much over. It's only for rich person, rich company to dominate the world. That's why I consider it's anti-democrat kind of industry. Okay, let me go to Taiwan a little bit. I think I showed this one early, but I changed a little bit in March time. I added some additional statement. Taiwan really, I consider just last night's dinner was very lucky, really lucky. We didn't plan for semiconductor industry for this situation. It was lucky to have the right people trained in US for almost 30 years. It was lucky when we spent 20 years from E3 and then to build our industry until mid-1990, when TSMC, UMC go on public, has enough money to attract people coming back. And TSMC doing something kind of no one else want to do, so-called foundry. So I call it it's really differentiated development. I mean, going through the route which most of the country, big one, Samsung, Intel, they all go to the product company, the so-called IDM. Japan, also similar. Japan has traditional product company making their product to the market. But TSMC only just do a manufacturing on a technology. We don't have any product. So we help the product company develop their product. So we are just a technology service company. It's not really a semiconductor product company. And because of that differentiation, we don't have any competition in the very beginning. Until when Samsung coming to play the foundry role, it's already too late. TSMC has probably already more than 20 years building that kind of infrastructure. And it takes time to build the infrastructure. And with the leader, with that kind of ecosystem, okay, so it has a lot of leaders advantage. Harder to be the second or third company to come in. And really, the foundry business, this manufacturing business, really fit Taiwanese culture. Taiwan, in general, are not very innovative country, but we execute it, we do things very well. Just outlook for that, I think I already mentioned it, probably don't need to spend too much effort. TSMC doesn't worry about after AI. I mean, we start from PC era to internet era to the mobile phone era to AI era, in the future maybe XYZ era. We don't care because they are all our customer. Okay, so we just ride on whatever trend is it. We don't have to innovate anything. We just provide the foundation, the platform for all the innovative industry to change, to grow. Okay, and that's the foundation of this particular one. And then homogeneous integration, heterogeneous integration definitely extend the traditional Moore's law problem. I think we definitely facing the geopolitical effect. Morris Haiti, so-called the end, the globalization is end, the situation, and talent shortage, and then young generation cultural gap is definitely happening, and I think it's similar to Japan and the Korea. So how do we make sure the next generation can come in to play that role? That's what I spend most of the time in Taiwan's school, trying to help the next generation find their passion, find their goal for the future. I'm only have a very high level view. I think the Moore's law definitely is getting to the end. I use this particular one. I think Professor Huang give more insight, a lot of more detail. I consider transistor is just a control switch. In the future, if anyone can find a new material, biomedical, whatever way to make a new switch material and technology, they could fundamentally go through another curve of a new curve. And definitely, I really don't like the last one happened. If the geopolitical effect get to the point leading to the war, I don't want the third world war happen again. My father went through that experience. We didn't. We are lucky we didn't have any war at all. And I definitely don't want my kids have that kind of things. Okay, that's it.
Thank you very much, Professor Yang, for sharing the perspective on the technical problems within the cultural and social context, and also the limitation of the Moore's law. And that will comes to our the last presenter in this second round, and before the coffee break. I think everybody is expected. And our third presenter is Takashi Matsuoka. He is the emeritus professor at Tohoku University, serving since 2019. He is also a specially appointed professor at the New Industry Creation Hatchery Center at Tohoku University. He has been a life fellow of IEEE since 2023 and a fellow of the Japanese Society of Applied Physics since 2014. Additionally, he is a life member of the Institute of Electronics, Information and Communication Engineers and the International Society for Optics and Photomics. And Dr. Matsuoka is also a senior member of the Japanese Association for Crystal Growth. So let's welcome Professor Matsuoka.
Thank you for the introduction. I have studied this device-related gallium arsenide and indium phosphide from silicon. After that, I proposed the material framework for a nitride semiconductor. Maybe every day you can see a blue traffic signal. That is a nitride semiconductor. Then I have continued the research on nitride semiconductor for more than 30 years. However, I feel that I have to propose the next generation of semiconductors, but I have not yet. I hope this conference will give me some hint. And then last evening, I knew that a part of the participants don't specialize in the natural sciences. Therefore, I changed the storyline from the resume. This is the outline of my talk. History, first is the history, and second, the impact of new devices and materials and society. And the second is nitride semiconductor. Third is what is the new materials about carrier concentration, structures, and the new materials. And finally, I'd like to summarize my talk. This is a periodic table, and up to now, we use these elements used. The silicon is here, germanium here, carbon is here. These are group 3, 5, and these are group 2, 6. And I'd like to introduce a conventional materials. This figure is widely used, and lattice constant and band gap energy. Maybe, yeah, this lattice constant band gap energy is not popular. Therefore, here explain the concept of band gap energy and a concept of the lattice constant. I have not so much time. Therefore, I only show these figures. And this below shows the history of semiconductors. Germanium, this is the first transistor in 1947. And silicon, now there are many discussions. And third is the gallium arsenide. Gallium arsenide is very popular for the transistor in the cellular phones and laser diode. And indium phosphide, this is the fastest transistors and the optical devices for optical communication systems. And I'd like to move on to the impact of new devices and materials on societies. First is this laser diode. I developed this laser diode in 1982, and this laser diode is very different from the conventional laser diode. This laser diode shows the only single mode. And now this laser diode used for the optical communication systems. This is an old public bell laser. This is a DFB laser. And when we use the DFB laser, bit rate increased to 25,000 times. And now we bit rate per fiber reached to the 10 terabit. And therefore, it is not so much to say that the DFB lasers support the advanced information society. And this is the operating principle of light-emitting diode with high efficiencies. And this light-emitting layer is sandwiched with two layers like this. For this for high efficiency, this barrier here and here is indispensable for electrons and holes. And here there are two heterogeneous interfaces. Therefore, we call this structure double heterostructure. Based on the principles set out here, we promote the research and the development of a blue LED. And I proposed the indium gallium aluminum nitride system for blue LEDs with high efficiency in 1986. Before my work, every researcher focused on the only gallium nitride. And for constructing a double heterostructure, only gallium nitride is not enough, as you know. That means that we have to control the band gap energy. Therefore, we need one freedom. And we have to control the lattice constant. Therefore, we need one more freedom. And we use the compound semiconductor. Therefore, element is at least 2 elements. Totally, we need a 4 element like this. I proposed this area here. This is a conventional material. And in 2014, this blue LED got a Nobel Prize like this. And the reason why this blue LED got a Nobel Prize, that is the blue LED is has enabled bright and energy-saving white LEDs. What is the difference between the nitrogen material and the conventional compound semiconductors? This is a conventional 3-5 material lattice structure. This is a nitride structures. And a little complicated, but this graph is very easy. Then this is a conventional, this is a nitrogen material. Stacking order is a little change like this. This white LED is used for the solid state lightings, and in 2025, the penetration rate of LED, white LED, is 55%, and energy saving reached to the 1100 terawatt hour per year. This value is almost same as total capacity of electrical power generation in Japan. Therefore, white LED is very useful for energy saving. Here, I have to point out that we can't synthesize any composition of the indium gallium aluminum nitride. This figure shows the phase separations. Okay. Usually, this is aluminum nitride, this is the indium nitride, this is the gallium nitride. Usually, we grow up the indium gallium nitride at 800 degrees C. You can see a green line here. Within the both green caps, we cannot get any indium gallium nitride. Okay, this is a big important point. And nitride material now applied for the transistors. This figure shows the potential of nitride semiconductor compared with the other semiconductors. Gallium nitride is here. The gallium nitride is suitable for the high performance transistors with high power and high frequencies. And I'd like to move on to the property not found in the conventional semiconductors. Okay, this below shows the crystallographic polarity. This is crystal growth directions, and for the gallium polarity, and one nitrogen atom is captured with one gallium atoms. On the other hand, for the nitrogen polarity, and one nitrogen atom is captured with 3 gallium atoms. This is very important, and when we select polarity, the automatically spontaneous polarization direction is changed. This spontaneous polarization is very different from the conventional 3-5 materials. Oh, 2 minutes. Okay. Okay. And when we use the gallium polarity, and this we can fabricate these structure devices. This device is widely used for the base station of cellular phones. And next generation 5G, we have to raise up the frequency. This structure is not enough. This structure is suitable for high frequency devices. For these cases, we use a nitrogen polarity. Skip. Okay. Okay. And now we have to control the carrier concentrations. This value is almost like this, and now our gate length becomes narrows. And present is 10 nanometer, and the future 7 nanometers. And can we control this carrier concentrations? Maybe it is very difficult because for the 10 nanometers, there are 200 atoms, and for the 7 nanometer, there is only 1 or 2 atoms. And when we use the ultrastructure, we control the carrier concentration by using a polarity. Skip. Okay. I have no time. I'd like to summarize my talks. And a question is for the next phase of development is what kind of demands for devices will appear in near future? And what is the new material in the next generations? Okay. The answer for these questions may lead to a new concept. And finally, I will conclude my talk by showing the potential of nitride semiconductor for many kinds of devices applications. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much for explaining some, like very complicated picture here. And yeah, but now it's yeah, but we can, continue our complicated conversation during the break. So now it's a break time, and please come back at 11:15. So our third round of discussion is beyond semiconductors, photonics, spintronics, and quantum computing. And our first speaker in this topic is Professor Du Hong Kim. Is a professor at Seoul National University, serving as associate professor in the Department of Physics and Astronomy since 2019. Previously, he was assistant professor at both Seoul University and Yonsei University. His research focuses on semiconductor quantum dot-based spin and charge qubit, diamond, nitrogen vacancy center spin qubit, integrated circuit for quantum classical interface, and quantum dynamic of open quantum systems. And let's welcome Professor Kim.
Thank you. Thanks for your very kind introduction. Today I'd like to talk on one of the next generation computing methods, that is quantum computing. In particular, making this quantum computer with semiconductor, and also in particular with silicon material. So I think it has never been so disactive for humanity to build technology to directly harness the quantum mechanical information resources like quantum superposition or quantum entanglement that makes intrinsic exponentially large computing capacity. It is a very early stage of development, and no one has developed very practical and universal quantum computer yet. But it is believed that once realized, it will affect and shift the paradigm of all across the all sorts of science and engineering. And traditionally, it has been believed that only atomic scale objects like real atoms or photons can do these kinds of quantum mechanical job. But recently we have realized that even the solid state devices like superconducting devices or the semiconductor devices, as I will talk today, have a capacity to make this quantum mechanical bit, quantum bits, with semiconductor technology. So I will focus on these semiconductor devices how to make these qubits and what's the status of this silicon quantum computing. And to motivate the discussion, it is true that recent developments of quantum computing devices is very tremendous, and we have seen lots of early applications of these early small-scale quantum computers used by IBM or IonQ, few commercial companies. But it's also true that compared with a universal and practical quantum computer, the humanity's stage of developing quantum computer is kind of here, a very early stage, and we call it NISQ era. noise intermediate scale quantum. And a point I want to make first is that even in quantum computing, it is actually the integration and scaling issue. There were times where people have believed that just about dozens of qubits or hundreds of qubits will be enough to surpass the classical computing. Now we realize that because practical qubits have errors, in order to make this practical and universal quantum computing, we still need millions or even billions of qubits in order to collectively use them to correct the errors to reach ultimately the practical quantum computing. So that's where these semiconductor devices come into play, because the name of the game of these devices is integration and making lots of them. It looks very similar with to classical transistor, but if we only slightly modify the structure, instead of making this as a switch, current flowing on and off, we only trap a number of charges inside this transistor and use those spin degree of freedom of those trapped charges as qubits. We call them spin qubits. And also, depending on the material, the qubit quality is very different, of course. And development of these kind of devices with the silicon material really boosted up this area of research, because silicon is a very excellent host for spin quantum mechanical coherence. And also this silicon devices is very compatible with foundry fabrication to make lots of them. Indeed, in the last few years, we have seen very tremendous progress making the very small scale quantum computing processor. It's kind of embarrassing to say this as a quantum processor, just having 6 qubits. But academicians believes that if we can make these few qubit with high fidelity or high quality, the industry or foundry can make lots of them very easily. There are groups in Japan, like RIKEN, who can do these kind of qubit manipulation with very high accuracy. And also, very early stage of quantum matter correction is ongoing with silicon devices. And there is all the attempts is going on, like Intel foundry fabrication or CEA-Leti, where actual foundry fabrication is used. In this case, FDSOI 28 nanometer or FinFET, a dedicated foundry process to make qubits with real foundry fabs. And large-scale architecture is proposed, and early stage of development is ongoing as well. And integrating all of them at cryogenic temperature is also ongoing. So along with this trend, my team in SNU is also capable of making few qubit devices looking like this. So far, we have tried a few different designs of qubit structure, like linear type qubit array or lattice type 2D qubit array. And so I'd say that in this field, we have very competitive research capacity, getting along with our global trend. But with this trend, I'd like to make some issues, comment on the issues, current issues, how to make this silicon technology to make a quantum computer better and better. And I'd like to compare it with more commonly known quantum computing devices like superconducting transmon qubits that IBM is relying on. The metric or metric is here is called coherence time. How long the quantum processor can retain its quantumness or act as a quantum computer. And there has been exponential increase in capacity or performance of this coherence time indeed. I made a few points here. I mean, as of current, the silicon devices with vast values is actually better than this superconducting technology. But it is also true that because this is a very early stage, the repeatable values are around here, and there is a wide variability depending on who made these devices and depending on how we manipulate them. So there should be a lot of efforts put in to make these standardization. For example, here I'm showing one of the representative experiment. In this research field, we commonly do these kinds of quantum oscillation measurement. This one shows how long these oscillations can retain. That directly translates to how good this qubit is. As you can see, so far, silicon devices' repeatable values are just a few microseconds of retaining time. But also, sometimes, if we are lucky in my lab, there is also time we can see tens of microseconds of long coherence time. And for the record, don't be fooled by apparent just few oscillations within this coherence time. It is actually the aliasing issue. I mean, the operation frequency is actually about 15 gigahertz. Within tens of microseconds, we can actually do millions of operation before it loses its phase coherence. But as I said, there's a wide variability in academic when academic researchers make their own devices. So I would say in this field, academic and industry collaboration is highly needed. Another thing is ultimate goal is how to integrate all of these in one chip, how to scale up. This picture shows, for example, how people are currently making their quantum computer. This corresponds to like ENIAC in an early stage of classical computer. Ultimately, we want to go to this kind of so-called quantum system on chip, like integration. Good thing about the semiconductor spin qubit is that it can be operated at relatively high temperature. High temperature, what I mean by that is just a few Kelvin. It is still minus 200 something degrees Celsius. But for the people who are doing research, all research is at millikelvin, Kelvin temperature is really hot temperature. What is the importance of that? Because when we try to integrate this controller, like waveform generators, qubit readout circuits, with spin qubit chip, these classical electronics inevitably produces heat. There is no way to maintain millikelvin temperature with this heat. But at Kelvin, it is doable. So the only way is that qubit should work at just a few Kelvin temperature. And it has been shown that it is possible in spin qubit. And this is actually a very crucial difference from superconducting qubit, where their qubit should be always maintained at millikelvin temperature, no matter how. They cannot be operated at Kelvin temperature. So in this point, spin qubit has its own advantage, and I think the silicon quantum computing, with its integration capability and high temperature operability, we have some advantages. And but because it's very early stage, I think academic industry collaboration is highly needed still. With these points, I'd like to conclude my talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor King, for sharing the finding of the progress of in silicon quantum computing. And our second speaker in this round of discussion is Richard Tsai, who holds an MBA from San Diego State University. And he also served as a COO and acting CEO at Taiwan AI Academy, which is also the partner of DSET. And he's the senior director for the Greater China area at SAP and a sales director for cloud application at Oracle. And currently, he is the provost at Taiwan AI Academy. Let's welcome Richard Tsai.
Thank you. My name is Richie. I come from Taiwan AI Academy and strategic partner with DSET. I'm talking about quantum computing in the IC design industries. I'm so lucky because after Professor Dong King, he talked about more technical terms. So it's quite easy to me that I just can explain what my view and what's the status in Taiwan in quantum computing. Before I get started my presentation, allow me to make a quick preface about Taiwan. Actually, Taiwan has something like South Korea. We also I think we are stronger countries in ICT, and we have similar backgrounds to development our technology, something like in semiconductor ICT, and we also has democracy countries, and we have a very good policy and executions in PC revolutions. The second one is Taiwan's increase the whereas through the industry automation, OEM, ODM, ICT. That's what we benefit from global markets in Taiwan. So in this moment, Taiwan government has a very great plan. We call it chip-based industry innovation programs in 10 billion US dollars in 10 years to go. This is quite important to Taiwan, how to enhance our industry from the ICT-based and the semiconductor-based industry. That's a reason we think we can cooperate with Japan and South Korea. The key is our vision is in the decades that we will look up the Taiwan to learn. First one is how to apply AI in the industry. The second one is if the AI industry is everywhere, then we can manufacture world-leading chips for AI computing. So let's start my presentation. Hey, sorry. Okay, let me make a quick briefing about Taiwan's semiconductor industry contributes the economic over the 20 percentage portions of GDPs. That's quite important to Taiwan because somebody says if Taiwan has no semiconductor industry. Taiwan, something like Philippines. So yeah, it's a joke, but something like a little bit of truth, because we all the industry surrounding the semiconductor, we support ICT and semiconductor industry. So that's quite important, include the IC design industry. The second one is, if we look back IC design industry, the growth of Taiwan IC design industry in the recent years, the historical highs in 1922, because of COVID-19. Before that, many the, countries ask Taiwan manufacturing more the IC, include auto or others, car industry and others. That's the reason has a scale is historical highs. But last year's year 2023, declines. Why? Because of inventory, too much. Yeah, that's the reason. But in this year and to goes, I think it's a turning point where dramatic growth because GPU, because NVIDIA. So that's the reason I'm talking about IC design, about computing platform trends. Okay. If we look at the evolution of the computing platforms, we can divide this evolution for three main areas. First one is digital computing from the 1950s onwards. The era was inspired mathematics and focus on bits. The second one is IC computing from year 2010s onwards, inspired by biologic. And the eras introduced new rules into the computing paradigms. The third one is what I'm talking about, quantum computing. Expect onwards in 2013. The oncoming eras is inspired by physicals and introduce qubits. So if we look back digital industry, we can say computer or communication. And we look at next is AI industries is ongoing now. We call biologics inspired by neurons. And the third one, before into the quantum computing, there's a trend that we call the metaverse, but just 2 or 3 years, because Meta already turned around their strategy into the AIs. But I think it still works because it's not incoming getting popular. But I think it's better for digital and AI will make a convergence, or we can fusions into the metaverse. We can adapt the metaverse in the digital trends and other industries. That's we call the IC tech. And the third one is I'm talking about quantum. Qubit and bits, the comparisons, I don't talk about too much because just Professor Kings has mentioned about many. But if we look at the measure of the real size, bit and qubits, the difference, and 0 and 1 and the qubit, and then from the physical views, still on the way to development. Second one is implementation. This part, there are many technical terms, and the difference from digital or AI's terms. But but we can think it will be a very large and very huge industry to go. So if we want to the development quantum computing industry, from my views, we especially in commercialized views, I think it's still a long way to go. Why? Because you compare with most roles in this moment, 24, I think still on the early stage to in the commercialized quantum computing. But the good news is I think Google and IBM did a lot of job to quickly development commercialize in quantum computing. Especially they were get done or has a huge, very outstanding outcomes in 20s and 30s. Yeah. That's I did some research and list all the projects around the world. But I'm sorry, I don't have too much information about Japan and South Korea. But I think compared with Taiwan, I think South Korea and Japan in quantum computing is more advanced than Taiwan's. Because I believe we just launched the first one's quantum computing, self-made quantum computing. But I have to highlight very important information about China, because as we know, China has a restricts chip from U.S. because of the U.S. and China's conflicts. So they will do a naturally strategy we call a leapfrog. They will skip this generation into the quantum computing. But before that, I think we still have times and to develop our industry surrounding the quantum computing. If you look at the Europe countries, I think Europe countries includes France, Australia, or UK, others. I think they did quite good jobs in the quantum computing. But if we look at we look at this line, yeah, this line. A very important is post-NISQ eras. We call the fault tolerances quantum computing. Then they will lead us to get into the quantum computing for commercializations. And to go 1 million qubits in year 2013, I think we can look at three companies. This is Intel, Google, and IBM. Especially in Google and IBM's, I think they got a lot of potential in commercializations. Let's make us thinking what's the next step in IC designs. So superconducting quantum computing, left side is Google and right side is IBM's. They has a very good progress. And Taiwan just getting starts. Last year we just sales made 5 qubits compared with IBM around the year 2016. So I think we are behind 6 or 8 years. Yeah, and the chips. Right side says our homemade and photonic qubits chips. About applications. Application in quantum computing, there's a lot of developments in sensor, in networker, in computings. And we look at the supply chains. I think it just get started. I think it's still early stage, but we take a very careful looking into the ecosystems. I think it's still development now. And the quantum computing trends, we think based on the IC techs. So from the media, multimedia, sensor, edge AI, cloud computing AI, digitals, all around. I think in the 2013 a generation, I think it could be a very good, very important potentials. Okay, that's my last one slides. Let's take away first one is the evolution computing paradigm. I think it's still ongoing now. The second one is cloud computing. The potential is very huge and in various field. And the rapid developments, I think we can, especially put more attention on the transitions from the NISQ eras. And the Taiwan strategy positions, I think we still focus on how to follow up or how to join the ecosystem in quantum computing. And the economic impact, that's what we concern, because if we didn't put too much resources in quantum computing, we afraid one day if semiconductors get a turning point and or we call the paradigm shift, Taiwan cannot catch up. That's the bad news to us. So that's the reason why we have to getting more resources in quantum computing developments. That's my presentation. Thank you for your attentions. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Provost Tsai, and for sharing the trend of quantum computing and the warning message of paradigm shift that we should all, notice. And so our final presenter in this round of discussion is Professor Justin Tsai. He is also a Taiwanese physicist and a professor at the Tokyo University of Science and a team leader of the superconducting quantum simulation research team at the Center for Emergent Matter Science within RICON. And he has contributed to the area of condensed matter physics in both its fundamental physics aspect and its technological application. He has recently been working on experiments connecting to quantum coherence in Josephson system. In February 2014, he retired from NEC Corporation after 30 years of employment and is now a fellow of American Physical Society as well as the Japanese Society of Applied Physics. Welcome.
Okay. Thank you very much. Introduction, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation. My topics is the third quantum computer talks, and especially focused on superconducting system. It was mentioned a few times. And since this is, I noticed lots of you are not technical persons, so I made it very simple, I hope. Okay, since we are talking about after semiconductor, so let's look into this Moore's law. And what this Moore's law is that it's decreasing energy per bit. That's the name of the game. So less time and power. So you can put many things together. So you have a large integration. So here, looking back, this is 100 years. This is 1940, and this is 2040. And this is energy per bit. And these are the data points. And over almost 17 years, it's continuously, the power per bit is decreasing. And how can this be possible? So here's the abacus, old abacus, you move these up and down. And this cannot decrease you can make it smaller, but it's not, your finger is fixed. So we move to relay, but relay, you saturate. You cannot keep making relay smaller. And so you have vacuum tube, and vacuum tube will saturate. You cannot make tube smaller. And then you have a bipolar transistor. You go to the solid state system. And now we are in CMOS, and CMOS also saturates. And so you have to think of something else, but there's nothing. there's many trial, but no one knows what will happen. And here's 300K energy level, so you have to cool it. And now the qubit is here. It's 0. For logic 0 and 1 transition, we don't consume any energy. If you consume, it's not qubit. So it's very special. The name, another game is that, you have to make lots of them. And making lots of qubit is a problem. It's not so easy. So we will talk about this beyond this thing. This is Moore's law. Again, this is ear, and this is effective bit. And Moore's law is doing like that. And quantum computer, the effective computing power increases in 2 to the n. N is the number of the bit. So it's exponential. So you will take over Moore's law very fast. And when this will happen, it happened already. Sorry. So exponential speed up. You can do it for quantum mechanical based material design, optimization, factoring, data search, and more. Not for everything. You cannot accelerate everything, but just it functions as an accelerator for supercomputer. Okay, but it's very important. So when is this? It happened in 2019 with 53-bit. This is demonstrated by Google. But these, what they did is not useless, completely useless. You have to be more clever to make something useful. And this is not happening yet. It's very hard. So why quantum computer is powerful? So this is the, if you don't know this, just remember this page. Okay, so classical bit, I just use this oscillo as the model. Oscillo has white and black key, and 1 bit. So it's 0 or 1. As for a qubit, you can have something like this oscillos floating. You have amplitude and phase, and this is something special. This is just toy cartoon. But using this cartoon, let me show you. This is a register. This is in computer. You have many bits lining up, and you represent numbers. And if you have n bit of this oscillo, you can represent information of n. Okay, only n. Okay, this is limited. This is a classical limit. But in quantum bit, you can superpose all of them. So this is the so 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, all this. And you can superpose all these. So you can superpose 2 to the n information. So if you have n qubit, you can register 2 to the n information into it. So it's very, very powerful. This is the reason. This is a very simple way to understand. And but this is not so hard, easy. It's very hard. And this is quantum mechanics, and only quantum mechanics can do that. So quantum information processing, you have quantum simulator, optimization, universal quantum computing, and quantum acceleration. It's theoretically, mathematically, it's proven that if you have universal quantum computer, you can really make it fast. Quantum simulation, it's not clear. It's case by case. And many industry are working on this quantum gate control. There are many different type of way to do it, but these big companies are doing it. They are quantum annealing. There are few companies to do this, to do the optimization. And also some Japanese company are making dedicated system classically to solve this optimization problem. Okay, these are, I have 5 minutes, right? Yes. Okay, so you have seen this. So this axis is speed and error rate. Since quantum computer is not digital system, it's an analog computer, so you have to be very accurate. Otherwise, you don't know what you're calculating. And, oops, it's not moving. Oh, okay. So you have to aim here very high speed. Surface scope. Anyway, there are many physical systems can do quantum computing, but superconducting is here very fast, relatively accurate. Trapped ion is very accurate, but there are like 3 or 4 orders magnitude smaller. It's very hard to couple. So I think this is a very good contender. Another thing is that superconducting qubit you can integrate very easily, not like ions. So what's okay, so if you look at atom, this is a size. It's very hard to, I mean, of course, you can superpose these things. They're small, so you say, okay. So can you superpose cat, like dead cat and live cat? It's impossible, right? We know it. But, you know, something similar in size, superconducting qubit is almost seems like a cat compared to the atom. But they do act like this. You know, you have 2 qubit can be superposed. And okay, this is in 1999 at my lab at NEC in Tsukuba, we developed the first qubit. Very soon, other type of qubit, phase qubit, flux qubit is developed. And this is developed into the D waves quantum annealer quickly. And this charge qubit is developed into informous transmon into many other big systems. Big companies are doing it. And so they, like Google and USTC in China developed this quantum supremacy experiment. And all of these are based on our original idea of qubits, so I'm very happy of this. This is a trend, integration. Okay, this is a year. Qubit numbers, like a Moore's law. There's some law. So this is something called valley of death. When you try to have new technology, you have to go through this valley. I think in terms of integration, you see here, 1 qubit to 3 qubit, it took like 10 years, more than 10 years. And finally, we are out of desert. And these are the trends. 10-fold about 4 years. This is a different system, but both of them has about the same slope. So according to this, in middle of the century, the millennium, we have like 10 to the 8th bit, and this will enough to make a very good computers. This is very different from Moore's law, because Moore's law is regulating by scaling at device level. You have to decrease the energy per bit, and then until you hit the quantum limit. But this is already, The qubit is very different. Qubit is already at the starting point is the quantum limit, so you cannot decreasing. So the scaling is rather not very scientific. It's technology, packaging, wiring, and so forth. It's very, very different. Oops, it's not moving. Okay. Okay. 2 minutes? Oh, time's up. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. I want to say some case study about things happen in Japan that don't have time to do it. I'll just flash through. I point out some Japanese problem. Okay, but we can discuss this. I personally faced this. And then finally, okay, since this is a policy making, I'll just make a little bit of your time. Science, in my point of view, is a curiosity-driven knowledge, understand the world. And technology is totally different. Needs-driven knowledge, and to do the survival in the world. So technology exists much, much longer than science. We have stone tools and do not need science. But after emergence of the modern science, they are very, very tightly related now. Protectionism is the government view. They try to protect technology as much as possible. Liberalism, this is scientist view. Science is the crown jewel of humankind, then it should be shared by everyone. We publish everything as soon as we get it. Technology, it's more sensitive. We don't know. But open sharing and knowledge and collaboration is vital for the progress of science and technology. And international collaboration is the mixture of this view. And quantum computing is a technology. It's not science anymore. Okay, this is end of my talk.
Thank you, Professor Tsai, for sharing your very pioneer work and also, put it in a simpler way, for policymakers to understand and connecting your technical knowledge to the policy making problems. So that comes to our last round. It's the discussion. And that each of you have 10 minutes, and I hope that you can use less than 10 minutes so we can have the lunch on time. Okay.
So in the morning session, we have learned about how important the global semiconductor industry is in itself, and not only in itself, but also for the next generation technology such as AI and a quantum computer. For example, Professor Kim and Professor Chai presented how can it be possible based on the contemporary silicon-based semiconductor technology. So it is important to make some strong connection, the scientific and the technological connection between the contemporary semiconductor technology and the next generation technology. But the thing is that we have so many technological problems underlying for the realization, expansion, and the extension of the technological solutions to the next generation semiconductor. For example, the silicon-based quantum computers we need to overcome, such as noise resilience or some kind of the fault tolerance quantum computers. It means that we need to make some kind of the low temperature technology too. And the other cases is that how we can make some kind of the energy efficient AI system based on some kind of the non-electron or some non-silicon or the other kind of the new material-based AI, the quantum AI computers. So typically we are focusing on just a combination between GPU and some AI compatible memory such as HBM. But the alternative can be also achievable based on the combination of the conventional CPU and the LPDDR or MPU and the LPDDR. So we need to make some more diverse exploration for these potential technological combinations. Finally, I'd like to mention that the possible partnership between the three nations. So for example, I just mentioned that the open research and development platform, but with this R&D platform, maybe we can also extend our mutual understanding to make some international collaboration for next generation student training or engineer training, or maybe we can make some kind of the co-affiliated faculty position or some adjunct faculty positions for each of the countries to pursue this kind of the advanced training. So that will conclude my comment, and thank you for the chance to talk about this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. I think now the Professor Ikata.
Thank you so much. Maybe quickly, 2 points about what Professor Lee mentioned. I think you had a very nice slide summarizing all of these 6 different government policies on semiconductors. I thought what's really interesting and revealing. But there was a line talking about the amount of total government support, whether that's tax incentives or subsidies towards the semiconductor industry. And while I thought that was interesting and important, I thought it would be even more helpful if there is also a line talking about the amount of private capital being invested in the semiconductor industry. Because if I remember correctly, the US government invests a lot more than the Japanese government. But if you look at the government investment and the private investment into semiconductors, then the ratio is about 2 to 8. So 20% from the government, but 80% from the private capital. Whereas for the Japanese, the ratio is actually different, right? So I feel like that ratio should be kept in mind when thinking about what is an acceptable form of subsidies or tax breaks. And then the second point is, I thought it was really important that you talked about how basically the Americans are making the argument that concentrating all of the semiconductor fabs in East Asia is dangerous. And I think there is a logic to that. But perhaps what we can do in this forum is to come up with not only logic, but convincing data to show, to debunk this danger of having fabs concentrated in East Asia, which could be used as a data point to decrease the need to de-risk away from Asian countries. And to do so, perhaps from the next conference or even this conference, if possible, it might make sense to try and create like a summary report of conference findings. And then, of course, since the conference is in English, creating this report in English probably makes sense. But maybe in the next round, we could have a Japanese translated, South Korean and Taiwanese translated documents. And then maybe we can come up with like a policy recommendation and give it to all of our governments for policy impact. I think this conference was a little bit too wide in scope to come up with a tangible policy recommendations, but I feel like we should be trying to focus more on certain issues like semiconductors or quantum or even bio or AI, and then really drill deep down into the tangible policy coordination recommendation, write it up in different languages, and give it to each of our governments for policy impact. And then Professor Kwon, you talked about the talent development and importance of next generation. And I thought that could apply to, once again, this forum as well, because a couple of months ago, I hosted a closed discussion like this, but between Japan and US on semiconductor coordination. And we had not only academics, but also many of the Japanese and American companies, semiconductor companies together. And there were about 40 of us and about 20 companies were present. And we talked about various issues of semiconductors. And what was interesting was the discussion was somewhat similar, right? Everyone there was also talking about the importance of coordination and cooperation on talent development. But then we had all of us, like our old folks in the room, talking about this is what we need for recruiting. This is what the young people want. But then I think the most valuable contribution was actually from someone helping out the conference, like this time around, a graduate student who said, By the way, I was thinking about going into the semiconductor field, but I didn't because it wasn't really sexy, right? He thought that the future was the software and not the semiconductor fabs and hardware. That's boring stuff. And if the messaging was different, if forum like this can come up with a different messaging that no, semiconductor hardware is the future, then perhaps we can do a better job in recruitment. I had about 7 other points, but I don't want to take up too much time, so I'll stop there for now.
So anyone want to respond, because this is an open dialogue, and Professor Yan, you want to respond to?
I think the Professor Ikiwa just mentioned about the investment and government subsidy. I totally agree that the amount of the private capital should also be noticed in the table. But I also want to highlight the reason why we talk about the government subsidy is I think particularly for the EU and the United States and all the others, country have used a subsidy to attract the foundry to their own country. So encounter that if the Asia country, the country which specialize in these foundry, also use the same capital to maintain their advantage. I think it's going to, on the one hand, to make their government subsidy to be less attractive, but at the same time, I think it's going to actually to agitate the government in US and in the EU, because that is exactly what they want to do. But if we use a government subsidy to counter this effort, then I think it's going to create another round of problem. That is why I said these 3 countries, probably we can have some discussion or dialogue, which we probably need to think about more skillfully how to actually to maintain the advantage, but at the same time does not just to follow their strategy, which the DSAT have been working on one report which we try to understand the advantage or the importance of the infrastructure, electricity and water, and we actually compare all 3 countries. Actually, all 3 countries uses almost the same strategy. We provide very low electricity and the water price, and compared to the EU. And so this probably will be something which less likely to be criticized as a direct subsidy to attract the investment. That is my point regarding the Professor Akira's. And so I totally agree. I think that talents cultivation is also another very important issue. But I think another issue that we should think about is all 3 countries actually suffer from low fertility rate. So that's indeed we cannot find enough people, next generation worker in this industry. That is, to some extent, you can say that's a blessing. So that we need to figure out how to upgrade the industry. But at the same time, we probably need to figure out if we want to use the other policy alternative to attract the talent. And we probably need to coordinate so that all 3 countries cannot just compete with each other, and that's in the end probably not a very good answer for all of us. I think that's important for us actually to have this regular meeting to understand and how to actually to develop the policy which can be beneficial not just about their own country but at the same time for the region as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think health economists are always pay attention to the birth rate. Yeah. So I also So I want to we still have 6 minutes, and I want to open the question to the floor. And does anyone want to kind of give the feedback to this morning's discussion? Professor Yang.
Let me comment just on the talent issue. I think I will probably talk a little bit in the afternoon section on the AI, but I think it's all related. If you look at the history, the reason why U.S. has in 70, 80 come out with a kind of semiconductor industry starting from beginning. Because if you look at the William Shockley started 1947 around, invented the first transistor. But the whole industry really coming from immigrant. Okay, we kind of joke U.S. IC industry as an Indian Chinese industry. It really means it is an immigrant industry. And U.S. During this 70, 80, create this American dream for all the foreign, especially Asian, when the country is still not doing well. So a lot of immigrants went there. Taiwan has a lot of engineers. That's why I mentioned we have a 30 years talent reserve, basically study and train worker in US that help US semiconductor industry in 70, 80, or even 90. Okay, of course, when Taiwan start doing okay, so people move back as a flux of talent. So that's why I think when we look at this semiconductor talent issue, because we had to understand that's the old industry, more than 50, maybe 60 years old. It is not attractive, honestly speaking, to any well-developed country, US, even China. I think all these three countries. Taiwan is unique in terms of still a lot of people, because the other industry sucks really bad, okay, in terms of salary. That's why semiconductor is the only industry that can offer a good salary. That's very unique. But even with that, we still have a big problem. So I went to Vietnam in January. I see a very different kind of country. Their birth rate is huge. And so they have a lot of young people, average age maybe 20-some years old. So what I mean is I think all of us need to think about the so-called immigration policy of attracting. I mean, you have two kinds of talent you need. One is a basic worker. You might not be able to find in your country, and we should try to recruit the overseas student. So when Vietnam asked me about the talent development, so I was thinking as because they don't have an industry right now, so their talent need to go overseas to work to get experience. Maybe one day they will go back, but at this time, no. So I think all these countries can take advantage of that as a worker, and also the so-called leaders' talent, because if you can have those leaders train your country, you can have a future connection. So we should look at the broader, globally, in terms of talent at the moment. I don't think you can find U.S. talent at all. Okay, the U.S. Industry completely different. I have two kids in U.S. They have a negative interest, not zero, on semiconductor. So I think U.S. is hopeless. Okay, I would say the only thing they can do maybe immigration policy, but with the Trump policy, I think they are hopeless. So we can take advantage of this global talent with the less developed country like Vietnam, like other places, and okay, that would be my suggestion.
Thank you, Professor Yang. And I also want to ask if there's any kind of final words from the presenters this morning, especially I know time was constant. It's kind of and, like Jeremy, that you want to have a final say. No. Okay, and the Professor Tsai, Professor Huang, Professor Tsai. Oh, okay. Okay, Professor Ikeda.
So very quickly on these points regarding the low fertility rate. I think I'm part of the problem because I'm not married, I don't have kids, so I need to step on my game. But on the labor shortage, so listening to your suggestions, I thought it might be interesting for us to use this again as a forum to engage these Southeast Asians, because we had all of these lectures from top-notch experts, and I learned a lot. I mean, I always pretended I understood semiconductors and quantum and all of that, but there's so much I don't understand. And today's lectures really helped me get a deeper understanding of each of them. So this is a great educational opportunity. So for example, next February or March, I'm working with some foundation in Japan to bring economic security experts from Southeast Asian countries, about 10 of them, to come to Tokyo for like 10 days to do a tour, to talk with the government, with the academia, think tanks, to talk about various issues with economic security. So if, for example, we can have this trilateral dialogue while they're here in Tokyo, and if you guys can come to Tokyo, then perhaps we can have a session where we have the Japan, ROK, and the Taiwan, basically giving knowledge capacity building to these Southeast Asians who are, once again, working on economic security policy issues as a way for, once again, utilizing this framework.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's quite give us a conclusion, and thanks for Professor Yang's feedback to Professor Guan's kind of talent cultivation. It's not only probably not advanced engineering, but also the leadership, and also I think Professor Ikeda just talked about how this trilateral can be extended. Like to more, quadrilateral, or, the more kind of give us a holistic picture, including the ASEAN countries. So I guess that's all for this morning session. And let's have a great lunch, and looking forward to the afternoon section. Thank you.